Is A2 the spiritual successor to Echo VR? This has been a question that has been constantly brought up by lots of people inside of the Echo VR community, and for most people from the outside in, it seems that it's safe to assume that the answer will be yes. However, a question like this is a lot more deeper than it might seem. Echo VR was one of the biggest games on the MetaQuest 2, and its shutdown left a big hole in the virtual reality community. So in order to answer that question, and I mean really answer that question, we're gonna first have to take a look at what Echo VR provided to the VR community. Echo VR was the world's first zero-gravity esports game, where players would throw a disc into the opposing team's goal in order to rack up a bunch of points before eventually winning. However, this was no easy task, and in order to retain a lead, players would need to employ good defensive tactics and strategies to stop themselves from being scored on. Because of its simple to grasp but hard to master mechanics as seen in most other popular VR games, it quickly harbored a huge community, and along with that, provided the first aspect that made it one of the most unique VR games on the platform, which is the first space where VR players can play competitive matches. And as you can see from first look gameplay, A2 will have no problem filling this part of Echo VR's influence. While they may have changed some things, such as removing the speed limit and making slapping a primary use of movement, for the most part, the transition of mechanics should be pretty easy to do. However, those mechanics meant nothing without the community, more specifically the competitive community. Leagues such as VRML and NEPA were created out of the influence of the Echo VR community, and they were able to use Echo as a main staple to host their competitive matches. But it didn't just stop it there, because once the leagues were able to establish themselves, they ended up moving on to other games and overall improved the competitive experience for virtual reality in general. And while we can't really measure that for A2 right now since it's still in a closed early access state, we are able to make some predictions based on some of the statements that another Axiom said at their Las Vegas event. For example, one of the main staples of A2 is going to be what's called a station. A station is the bridge between the lobby and the arena inside of A2, and instead of waiting for matchmaking, they make it a seamless transition where anybody can hop in at any time. And combining those stations with the level editor, which was talked about in a previous video, leagues will be able to customize and promote themselves in ways that never could have been dreamed of inside of Echo VR. So we have the game mechanics down, we have the leagues down, hopefully later on we'll have the player count down. It seems that the answer to that question after a deep dive might still be yes. Or is it? Because at the previously mentioned Las Vegas event, the developers for A2, another Axiom, answered this exact question, and they went on stating, A2 is not a successor to anything. And while that statement may be confusing on the surface, I think what they really wanted to push out is just the expectations of us coming into A2 thinking that it's going to be another Echo VR, and I wholeheartedly agree with this. Right now, as of this video, I am one of the very few who have exclusive access to A2, and I can very much say that A2, although it does use zero gravity, has still differentiated itself massively from Echo VR, and it should not be considered a clone or a remake. And I know that's been the narrative that I personally have been pushing for a long time, but that was a narrative that I was pushing before I actually tried the game. So even though now I might sound like a big hypocrite, just gotta say, sorry guys, my bad. But if you are an Echo VR fan, that still shouldn't stop you from trying out A2 once it releases on App Lab in early 2024. But I'm sure you may be curious as to what I was mentioning earlier when I was talking about A2's level editor, and if you want to learn more about it, then I would highly suggest you click the video on screen right here, where we do a deep dive into A2's level editor and the potential it has to change VR. But yeah, with that said, that's gonna wrap it up for this video, so if you did enjoy, I'd please highly suggest that you leave a like, subscribe, and comment below your thoughts below. And with that said, my name is Trentic, this has been another A2 video, and I will be signing out. Peace.